Greetings, my friends in the AF alumni community. My name is Angie Chaplin. I am the co-founder of the AF alumni community along with my dear friend MJ McRae, and I'm a peer recovery coach. I'm a leader in my own long-term recovery of almost 5 years. I'm the founder of a nonprofit working in the leadership development space within behavioral health and human services. And I've been sharing and answering questions and talking as boldly and bravely as I can about my own journey because I truly know that we are not in this alone. And all that we do together is when we are truly better together. So, I'm going to talk you through the power of values and how your values can serve as superpowers as you're navigating your own journey to freedom from alcohol in whatever method or path that might look like for you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can walk through this together. I'm also recording this session so that you can view it more than once. Usually, when we're navigating our values, it takes more than one time through it. It's not a one and done activity. We really glean more depth in understanding our values, the more that we have the opportunity to explore them. And then certainly the greater the opportunity to share our values with others. So as we walk through this experience, you'll have a couple of opportunities to walk yourself through a values identification process, whether you're watching us live or watching this through the recording. You can still find value as we talk through some of the resources available. So again, a quick introduction. I'm Angie Chaplin. I am nearing 5 years on my own alcohol-free journey. We founded the AF alumni community, MJ McRae and I, in December of 2020. So it's been just a few years that we've been sharing and supporting each other on this journey. And values played a significant role in my path to freedom from alcohol. And that's why I'm passionate and intentional about sharing these resources with you. So first, to take a look at definitions of values, you may have your own personal definition or some similar construct of what values feel like or actually mean to you. This is a great definition that I refer to, of course, from one of my personal gurus, Brené Brown. And that's a value is a way of being or believing that we hold most important. Living into our values means we do more than profess our values, we practice them. We walk our talk, we are clear about what we believe and hold important, and we take care that our intentions, words, thoughts, and behaviors align with those beliefs. My introduction to values actually started well before some of my challenges with alcohol started. When I began graduate school, this was in 2005 at Seton Hall University in New Jersey, there was a book that was kind of the foundation for the entire curriculum. At that time, I was studying strategic communications and leadership. And this is that book. It's called The Leadership Challenge by Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. And at first I thought, a leadership book. I've read many leadership books and they all kind of talked the same talk. But this one was different because the leadership challenge for the first time taught me that leadership is built of facts and feelings. And this is the mid 2000s. And up until that point, I was taught that leadership had nothing to do with feelings. In fact, feelings was kind of an F word when it came to being an effective leader because you were supposed to have your game face on at all times. I was raised in a family where we really didn't do well with emotions. A lot of emotions were suppressed, or if there were emotions to be expressed, it was more about anger. And again, emotions, just we weren't taught emotional intelligence back in those days. But yet, here was a leadership book in a graduate school program that was emphasizing the importance of values. So, the leadership challenge is built on 5 evidence-based practices, the first of which is what you see here: model the way. And again, this was a different approach to leadership that I really was curious about. And it piqued my interest in a way that would later in my life become even more life-changing than what it was at that time. So again, the leadership challenge was the book, and the faculty member in this course, it was partially online and partially in person, asked us a very, what I thought, simple question: who are you? This was our first course, our first textbook. And so I answered it pretty standard responses. I'm Angie Chaplin. I'm living in Iowa. I was working with a nonprofit. So I kind of, talked about who I was. And he stopped me and said, "No, I'm asking you, who are you?" And so I'm thinking I really already answered this question, but I went on. I'm an active community member. My family is very important to me. And he stopped me again and said, "I'm asking you who you are. You're telling me what you do, the roles that you play. Who are you?" And I didn't know how to answer that question. I teared up and said, I don't know how to respond to what you're asking. And it really started this journey of discovering who I was. This was not the graduate school class that I thought I had signed up for, but yet it was incredibly important, not only for my leadership journey then, but what would become my alcohol-free journey now. And so the practice of model the way is really understanding these questions. What do I stand for? What is important to me? What are my core values? And at the time, I was a young mom. I had 2 small boys. As a part of this journey, this process, I was at that time considered morbidly obese and had rediscovered that the value of wellness was important to me. So I started running marathons. Had never been a runner or a marathon athlete in my life. And through the process of leaning into my values, I was able to find my voice and allow my voice to shout across the finish line of 7 national marathons. So my 2 young boys were great champions and cheerleaders of that process. And just as I was learning and growing and kind of expanding who I was and my understanding of myself, my 2 little boys have done the same thing. So this is obviously a more recent picture. I've seemingly shrunk as my children have grown much larger. I'm the proud mom of 2 boys. Jacob, my oldest son, in the gray or the tan sweater, is living and working and adulting very successfully in Des Moines, Iowa. And my youngest son, Jeremy, in the gray Iowa football sweatshirt, is an Iowa Hawkeye football player, number 66. So go Hawks. And my boys have been cornerstones of my journey through leadership, my journey to freedom from alcohol. And they will continue to play an important role in keeping me grounded in my values. But what you don't see between these 2 images is this person. This was 2019. This was me, lost, unaware of what my values were, what they should be, trying to live definitions that everyone else told me of what I should do, self hatred, shame, guilt. I was arrested for an operating while intoxicated. I totaled my car. Thank goodness no one was injured. It was one of many rock bottoms that I faced between 2010 and 2020, or what I refer to as my dark decade. When I would drink myself heavily, almost to blackout during each night, it was a method of escape. It was numbing. All those feelings that I knew were important from my leadership studies came back, and I didn't know what to do with them. I would drink to the point of requiring hospitalization for medical crises. The fifth hospitalization took place in February of 2020. I was admitted in critical condition and placed in intensive care. The outcome wasn't certain, and I was in the hospital for over 5 days. When I was discharged, I had a doctor who was very blunt with me and basically said, "You're killing yourself with alcohol." And I knew what he was saying. It hit me what he was saying. And he gave me two choices. You can keep drinking and you will die. You may not have a next time, or you can choose to stop drinking and give yourself a better life. And at that moment, I made the choice to lead myself away from unhealthy behaviors and toward a values-oriented life. So this was February of 2020. 40 days later, I was sober. I was celebrating the fact that I had, at that point, 6 weeks of freedom from alcohol, and COVID shut down all of the resources I had available. It was at that time that I did my own research. I found Annie Grace and took part in alcohol experiments. I found Laura McCowan and her work with the Luckiest Club, and read as many Quit Lit books as I possibly could. And I remembered my leadership development work. I remembered how important and how life-changing knowing my values were when I had done it 15 years prior in graduate school. So I sat myself down, isolated, had lost my job due to alcohol issues, and took myself through values activities and values identification. And that's literally what I've leaned into now, almost 5 years later, to keep me centered on the things that matter most to me. Not to my family, not to society, not to other people who try to influence decisions and actions that I take, but what's most important to me. And so that's what I'm going to lead you through. Now, I'm the founder of a nonprofit called Brave Leadership. One of the resources that we provide are Unsung Heroes Summits. These are one-day in-person events that we hold in communities right now across Iowa, but soon hope to expand on a national level, that help us work with people not only in recovery, but who all are providing services for individuals in mental health and substance use disorder services, treatment providers. So as part of the Unsung Hero Summit, we incorporate values. So, what I'm going to lead you through is a values activity. And we'll do this with two different rounds or two different methods. So, first, you will hear me say a word. So, what you see pictured are decks of values cards, and that's what I have in front of me. On each card is a value word. There are 55 word cards. There's also blank cards. So as I say each of the words, I want you to write it down if it resonates with you. If it meets one of the criteria that you see on the screen, write it down. Don't question it. Just kind of go with your gut. So the first time through, I'll say the word. The second time through, I will say and show you the word. So it will be both visual and auditory that you'll be able to go through your written down words once again. Okay, so here we go. Accountability, authenticity, awareness, balance, belonging, challenge, clarity, collaboration, communication, community, compassion, connection, courage, creativity, credibility, curiosity, discovery, diversity, empathy, empowerment, equity, excellence, fairness, family, flexibility, freedom, fun, generosity, growth, happiness, health, honesty, hope, humility, humor, inclusion, independence, initiative, innovation, joy, kindness, knowledge, learning, love, open-mindedness, peace, positivity, potential, purpose, quality, recognition, reflection, relationships, respect, safety, service, spirituality, strength, trust, and wellness. Okay, so you've written down words that resonated with you. Now, as I go through the second round, you will see and hear the word. So it will be a time to refine the list. Perhaps there are other words that come to your mind. Feel free to add those to your list and continue to take a look at what you've already written, add to, subtract, whatever resonates with you. So here we go with round two. Accountability, authenticity, awareness, balance, belonging, challenge, clarity, collaboration, communication, community, compassion, connection, courage, creativity, credibility, curiosity, discovery, diversity, empathy, empowerment, equity, excellence, fairness, family, flexibility, freedom, fun, generosity, growth, happiness, health, honesty, hope, humility, humor, inclusion, independence, initiative, innovation, joy, kindness, knowledge, learning, love, open-mindedness, peace, positivity, potential, purpose, quality, recognition, reflection, relationships, respect, safety, service, spirituality, strength, trust, wellness. And then a blank free card, I guess, of sorts for you to add any words that resonate with you. Maybe there's a word of the year. Maybe there's a particular mantra that you use that you feel should be represented as one of your values. So feel free to jot that down. Now, when it comes to identifying our values, that whole process is really step one. Once we know what they are, then values integration means we match our actions with our values. So, going back to that Brene Brown quote, it's not only do we profess our values, but we practice them. So this is defined by the authors of the Leadership Challenge as DWSIWID. DWSIWID is an acronym for do what you say you will do. So obviously, say is underlined, or I guess is red here. That represents professing our values. But what comes after that is practicing our values. So the opportunity to put our behaviors in line with our words means that people aren't confused. We aren't confused. When our actions and our words align, then people can easily understand what direction we're going with our decisions and what direction we're going with our words, because they're the same direction, even if they're off the beaten path a bit. So this art or this practice of living into your values means that you put energy into identifying what do your values look like in action. So this is a process that I developed called values mapping. There's a similar process called mind mapping that helps explore idea generation and creation. It's similar to mind mapping, only with values mapping. You put your values in the center circle. So these are my top 5: credibility, curiosity, clarity, connection, and love. So then the question is, how do I demonstrate these values through my actions? What are all the things I do on a regular basis to show I'm in alignment? So what you see in the outer circles are all examples of behaviors that I engage in to make sure I'm living out my values. And on days when I feel off or I feel kind of misaligned internally, I will use my values map and make sure that I'm doing these things. Sometimes real life gets in the way. We don't always have time to carve out essentials like our practices aligned with our values. And so it needs to be just as important as any other invitation or activity that might take up space on your calendar. Carve out significant time, whether that's over a week, whether that's 10 or 15 minutes every day, to really do some introspection and then be able to match that with action of living out your values. Some additional questions to ask yourself is simply this: what do my values look like in action? Maybe you can ask people around you. Say wellness is one of your values. Invite people that you spend time with. What am I doing that you think is in alignment with wellness? What am I doing that's not in alignment with wellness? And it will be important to listen to yourself, but also listen to the feedback that you're getting from people around you. Are you being deliberate with decisions and behaviors that directly align with your values? If somebody didn't know your values, could they interpret what your values might be based on the behaviors that they see from you? Some discussion areas. I do this with groups when we have leadership sessions or trainings. I'll ask them to share something that they've done within the past week that exemplifies one or more of their values. So through dialogue, people will share what their values look like, what some proof of that. Then I also give bonus points if someone has photos on their phone. So photo evidence of what living into their values actually looks like. So some more discussion or reflection questions for you. What does it feel like when you're living into your values? Do you have a support team kind of encouraging your efforts? And what does that support look like? Maybe there's more support that can be provided to help you stay true to your values. What are some of the red flags? What are some of the indicators when you're outside your values, when you're being pulled in a direction that doesn't feel right? That feeling could be a red flag and typically is. You might even have physical symptoms. I know I get an upset stomach if I'm acting in a way that doesn't feel right, that is incongruent with my 5 core values. And that might be something that you experience as well. And then finally, how can you check yourself? How can you do some type of reflection, some type of checks and balances to make sure that you are living into your values? Now, we know life isn't perfect, right? We know life gets lifey. We are sometimes placed in situations beyond our control that might feel outside our values. If that's a temporary situation, you might need to work through that as quickly as you can to return to your values. So people who are in situations, perhaps it's a family environment or some type of work event that might tug you toward feeling misaligned, do what you need to do, of course, and return to your values. So after that experience, give yourself space, give yourself time to regroup, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through dialogue with a support partner, whether that's going back and reading some Quit Lit books or something else with personal growth and development that helps you return to who you really are, because your core values serve as your internal compass. And the more that you can stay aligned to where your compass is telling you to go, the more aligned you will remain to your path away from unhealthy behaviors. So as I talked about my experiences with the Leadership Challenge book and graduate school, my ongoing certifications have been focused on the concept of leadership. And particularly with the nonprofit, it's how can I share my journey? How can I equip others in learning and practicing the 5 practices that keep me moving forward? So when I was embarking on this journey, it was really this self-discovery, this self-empowered leadership that helped me achieve the almost 5 years of alcohol, of freedom from alcohol and living an alcohol-free life. So through our nonprofit, we are launching through Brave Leadership, our nonprofit, we're launching Real Life Leadership. And this is a 3-part virtual course that I will be teaching in November. You see the dates there from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Time. I'm located in Iowa. The sessions will be recorded. So if for some reason you're unable to attend or the time just doesn't work, it will be recorded and participants will have access to all of the sessions at the end of the course. These are the exact evidence-based practices from the Leadership Challenge that I lean into to keep me moving forward on both my leadership journey and my alcohol-free journey. And through Real Life Leadership, you will develop action items for you to help you navigate real life challenges. So it's about leadership. It's about your continued alcohol-free journey, wherever you are on that journey, and regardless of the methods that got you where you are or where you want to be, real life leadership will be that next step forward. So I would love to have you in our cohort. We're going to keep it small to provide a welcoming and supportive and safe space for participants. So the QR code is on the screen for you to learn more about that. I also have various ways for you to stay connected with me, either through my website, through the work we're doing with Brave Leadership, on a few of the social media platforms. So whether it's through Instagram or visiting our websites or shooting me an email or connecting with me through a Facebook message, there's lots of ways to get a hold of me, to share your questions, provide your own stories and experiences of how have values really helped you in your journey. So I love connecting with members of the AF alumni community. I love having the opportunities to share our struggles, share our success stories, because as I said in the beginning, I truly believe we are better when we're leading together. So thank you for being part of this values experience and leaning into values as your superpowers. I look forward to talking with you again soon. Take care.